Recording. Let's start with a word of prayer. Dear God, we give you thanks for the weather today. God, that seems kind of silly because the rainstorms and the snow come from you too, but it's been so nice to feel the warm sun. God, it reminds us of your warmth and your love. Now, as we are here, we've been lots of different places today, this week, but we're here now. We ask that you turn off the places in our brain that we don't need to think about right now.
Like them.
Help us to be totally in your presence as we listen to each other and listen to you. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, last week we did the I am the vine, and you are the branches. We've done the good shepherd. We've done I am the door of the sheep. I am the bread of life. I am the light of the world. Anybody have any comments or questions or things that have come to your mind since we met last?
I've really been enjoying studying these statements. I mean, I just see them differently than I have in the past. Yeah, just more insight.
Very much so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, tonight we are doing John 14:6, which is a very, very difficult passage. You may not think so, but I think you'll think so more when we get into it. But before we start that, I want to ask, I'm realizing next week will be Monday, Thursday. So actually I have two questions. So I don't know if I will be in shape to lead the study next week. I'm getting my second shot on Wednesday. So I'm going to prepare some questions. I probably will be up to let you in. I can turn it on because it is connected to my computer. But I'll send you out questions ahead of time. So I think, is there anyone who'd like to just kind of be the facilitator, not the leader? Or do you want to just fend for yourselves if I'm not able to be here?
Kathy and Carol, they're the ones that I think I want them to do it.
I can't be here next week because I have to play for a service. I mean, we have an in-person service at night. So
I should say I want Mary to do it. Then we'll have her for sure because we only get her once in a while.
We can fend for ourselves.
Okay, I think if you have some questions, I think you'll
we'll go through it. Maybe hopefully you'll be feeling wonderful. And
Yes. Yes.
I think I will. Okay.
Nancy and I are going tomorrow for our second one. So we sort of thought that we haven't planned a whole lot for the weekend in case we get down and out, but we're optimistic. We'll be fine. Yeah. In a day or two.
And the next question is, when we're finished with this study, I'm going to skip a week, the week after Easter. I'm going to not have Bible study that week, just to break. And is there a particular study that we'd like to continue after that?
Well, we had said going into Acts.
Okay, we want to go into Acts, okay?
Is that okay with everybody? I thought that's what we were doing.
Yeah, from Luke into Acts, right?
Yeah.
All right, we'll start the book of Acts and see if it can be
Okay.
done by next Lent.
Right.
Okay. All right. So now we are in John chapter 14, and we have to start this at the beginning of the chapter. They've got a little idea of what the start is.
Okay.
So I want to start with verses 1 through 3.
We're doing Bible study right now, so I can't talk too long. Let me let everybody see you for a second.
Okay.
Oh,
Hi.
oh gosh.
Eating green beans.
Hello.
fun.
Right.
Okay, thank you for letting me
So that's Acts 14, 1-3. Is that what you said,
Acts
Molly?
14, John 14.
John.
Oh,
Oh,
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking. That's what I've got is John on my phone. Yeah. I can read those first three if that's all right. Yeah. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God. Trust also in me. In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, I would have told you. I'm going there to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is this is Jesus, kind of farewell discourse. I'm going to be leaving. And it's kind of in the middle of John. So the Holy Week, you spent a lot of time in John. So this idea with many rooms, there's been many a good joke over the many rooms in heaven. Like, so this man is died and he's gone to heaven, and St. Peter says, what's your denomination? And he said, well, I really didn't have one. I just love God. And Peter said, well, you gotta pick some place to spend eternity. So he said, well, let me look through. He said, okay. So they went up to this one door, and it was just kind of a simple little wooden door, and they opened it, and there's people jumping up and down on the pews and rolling on the floor, and he said, that's a little wild for me. He says, well, those are the Pentecostals. I understand that. So they went to the next door, and there was these great big huge doors, stained glass windows, and they walked in. There was no electricity. Everything was just candles, and the people all had their winter coats on, and there was the people up front were all in all these vestments, and they're chanting. And the man said, wow, that's a little bit too much the other way, a little too formal. He says, well, that's the Roman Catholics. They're here. And he walks to the third room, and they open it up, and there's just a bunch of people, and they're singing a nice hymn, and they all seem really friendly. And he says, he said, this looks like a really kind of nice place. I think I'd like this one. And St. Peter says, shh, shh. Those are the Methodists. They think they're the only ones here.
Oh,
My dad told that same joke, except for he had the Baptist ones that thought that, yeah. His had a different denomination, but same joke.
Honestly. Oh my.
Well, this whole idea of heaven being different rooms, it's gone. That had some actual theological content in Jesus' day, that the Jews thought that there would be these different levels that you would get your room according to your deeds on earth. So, you would get the better room, and kind of like the song that Keith sang on Ash Wednesday. If you got to see that service, it's what was it? That's all the lumber. He sang the song about that's all the lumber you sent, and the guy was looking at the house that he was going to get, and it was this little shack after he pants all these mansions. And St. Peter said, well, that's all the lumber you sent. That's all the good things you did. That's what you built your house.
Okay.
Just really, really good song.
mhm.
But so what do you think? You think heaven is going to be, anybody, what's your take on what heaven will be?
I guess I've only just thought of it as there's no more pain and there's joy and kindness. I don't think of all those different rooms, very honestly.
I just guess I think that it's something that I can't even imagine. So I don't try to imagine. I just trust that I am going to be very happy.
Mhm.
And I don't need to know. It's just a safe place. I know that it's going to be awesome. So I don't need to think about it, because whatever I could think of, it can't be anywhere close to being what it's going to be.
Mhm.
True. Well, I live in a very small house, so the thought of living in a mansion and having room, having rooms, I I like that thought. But when Dad was dying, that was really on his mind, especially in the month before he died. And every morning as he was getting up, he would ask me again to tell him what heaven was going to be like. I said, well, I haven't been there that I remember, but I looked up things in the Bible about the streets of gold, and that there's a fountain, and, that there would be a lot of room, and that there would be no more crying, no more tears, and that, it would be, heaven is a wonderful place filled with glory and grace, the song. It was neat to be able to share that with him. And I hope that I was close to accurate. But it is, Nancy, it's so much more than anything that we could even imagine, I'm sure.
That's interesting, because I remember Nancy's father, who lived to be 95. And when he was near the end of his life, he asked that same question a number of times, asking us what was heaven going to be like.
Mhm.
It's just interesting.
And wondering about mom, about being reunited with mom. That was one time he said something about that. Wondering, he didn't have any doubts about it. I think he just wondered, I'm going to be there soon. Get me prepared. Yeah.
I kept telling Dad that, your brothers are waiting for you. You're going to see your brothers. And he said, well, how are they going to recognize me? I'm an old man now. So, I went back to the book, Heaven is for Real, that had been given to me. And I didn't have time to read it when I was taking care of him. So I just prayed, God, if there's something in here that I need to share with him. And it took me right to the play. Have you all seen the movie, or you've read the book? This little boy experiences heaven, and everybody was younger. And the way they know that he actually saw something was that he'd never met his uncle. And he'd only known his uncle as an adult. He'd never seen pictures of his uncle or anything as a young child. And when he was in heaven for that period of time, he encountered his uncle and a sister that had been miscarried or something. I mean, there were all these things that he wouldn't have known about and was repeating. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's accurate or not, but it gave him a lot of comfort. And your dad, Nancy, your dad died shortly before my dad did.
Yeah.
I think he died in December or something, didn't he? Or November? And and Dad died in January. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is Jesus telling them that, so I'm coming and I'm going to go and prepare a place for you.
Excuse me.
So they're getting, and it's this vision that there are many, and the King James Version says many mansions, and some say many rooms. So that comes right from the Jewish theology of the time, of this vast place, some of the Jewish rooms and these different stages. Now, the next verse is interesting. Just verse 4. And what is verse 4?
Mine
It
says,
says, and you know the way to where I am going.
yes.
Okay. Okay, so if Jesus said that to you, I'm going, and you know the way. So what is the way?
To follow Jesus in your heart as well as in your actions.
Mm-hmm.
We're the sheep, so we should follow the shepherd.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
These are all good answers that we've picked out of the Bible. But if you were sitting there in the Jesus day right then, and Jesus says, and you know the way. And Jesus said, I'm going to go, and you know the way. And so let's read verses 5 and 6.
And it's Thomas.
Mm-hmm. Okay, mine says, no, we don't know, Lord. Thomas said, we have no idea where you are going, so how can we know the way?
And
Jesus, do you want me to go on?
Yep.
Jesus told him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to the Father except through me.
Okay, there's our verse, the I am statement. I am
Mhm.
starts with the way. Anybody know what early Christians called themselves?
Must be the way.
Must be the way. Yeah. They were called the way. The
Good
way.
answer, Dottie.
She should. Okay, all right. I want somebody to look up Deuteronomy 5, 32 and 33. One person do that. Somebody else, Deuteronomy 31, 29. And someone else, Isaiah 30, 21.
30, 21. Okay, I got Isaiah.
Isaiah 35, 8.
I'll do Isaiah 35:8.
Okay, and Psalm 27, 11.
Isaiah 35.
See if we just played this just right and everybody looks up something different.
I missed the first two. They were Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy 5, 32 and 33.
2:33.
I have that.
Okay.
Deuteronomy 5:32-33, right?
Mhm.
Therefore, you shall be careful to do as the Lord your God has commanded you. You shall not turn aside to the right or to the left. You shall walk in all the ways which the Lord your God has commanded you, that you may live and that it may be well with you, and you may prolong your days in the land which you shall possess.
Okay. So here's the first place where it says you're walking in the ways of the Lord. Okay. Anybody got the next Deuteronomy 31, 29?
I do.
Okay, Dottie's got it.
For I know that after my death, you are sure to become utterly corrupt and to turn from the way I have commanded you. In the days to come, disaster will fall upon you, because you will do evil in the sight of the Lord and provoke him to anger by what your hands have made.
Okay. So once again, hi, Sue.
Yeah, sorry I'm late.
Okay.
Okay, Sue.
We're reading a bunch of verses on the way. So our theme tonight is I am the way, the truth, and the light.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
From
So,
John 14:6.
yep. All right. So this is the second one where it says you're going to lead the way. All right. Now, how about Isaiah 30, 21?
Your own ears will hear him. Right behind you, a voice will say, this is the way you should go, whether to the right or to the left.
Okay. Another one of the way. Isaiah 35, 8.
That's mine. Well, you can read it.
35:8.
Mhm.
And a highway will be there. It will be called the Way of Holiness. The end.
Oh, no.
Not go about on it.
Okay, we got most of that. Kind of your internet connection blooped in, but it says it's about the way, being in the way. All right. Did I get all of them? No, Psalm 27, 11.
I've got it.
Okay.
Teach me your way, O Lord. Lead me in a straight path because of my oppressors. You want more?
Okay. All right. So we see that the way was really common. It was used throughout. Teach me your way. Stay in the way of the Lord. So when Jesus says, I am the way, this was something that registered with them.
Mm.
So let's think about, I'll tell you a little story. I was the pastor at Collins Center. United Methodist Church was my very first church, and it's the first time I ever moved away from Chautauqua County.
I was
And-
the organist and pianist.
Yeah,
there.
Dottie was the organist and pianist, and that where we became friends. But they kept telling me, I'd ask directions, and they'd say, well, you go to where the milk plant used to be, and then you turn left or you turn right, and then you go up, where this, and I always think, okay, so where's the milk plant? Where did the milk plant used to be? I couldn't figure that out for the life of me. It took me a couple years to figure out that the milk plant was across where the milk plant used to be, was across the street from where I was living in the parsonage. I didn't know
Oh,
that. So I didn't, so I had to have someone show me the way. And another, so have you ever been I'm not good with directions.
Neither am I.
Not good. And so people will tell me, you go this way, then you go to the third cornfield, you turn left. Once you see the bridge, you go to the right, you take the second light and turn left. And by then I'm back at home. But, and I'm not. So, but I like it when someone says, I'm just going to go this way. Just follow me. Isn't that the easiest way to have directions? When you really get confused, as long as the traffic isn't too heavy, you don't lose the person. Yeah.
Mhm.
So this is what Jesus is doing. This way, you just got to follow me. I'm going to go. Just keep following me. I am the way. I am the truth. I am going to be honest and tell you what's happening. So how does that make you feel if you're the disciples?
Comforted.
Yeah.
You've been following Jesus for 3 years. He's not led you wrong. He's always told the truth. He's been right at everything. Maybe you've gone a little bit different directions than you think you should, but it's always coming to the right place.
Mhm.
So, why is this verse then in the Bible?
Well, because there's a lot more of us that need to know the way.
Okay. So here's the question. And this is the hard part. So, how many of you were raised in the church?
Mhm.
Okay. Everyone on this Bible study was baptized as an infant, if that was your faith background, or dedicated, and you went through Sunday school and church. And so we've known this is the way. So what if you were born in Saudi Arabia and you happen to be Muslim and you live that your whole life? Does this verse exclude you from heaven?
I don't think so. I think that's why there's many rooms.
Ah,
But how do you explain no one comes to the Father except through me?
Okay.
I've always found that a challenge in answer to your question, Molly.
So I don't know if I know all the, you may be surprised to know that I don't know all the answers, but this is the question that really I asked a lot.
Yeah.
So what is some of the others think about that?
Being brought up in early marriage in a GARB Baptist church, this verse was supposed to be proving to others that that narrow little way of following the four spiritual laws was the only way that you were going to be able to get to heaven. And I didn't believe that then, and I don't believe it now, but they were really strong about that.
See, Dottie has the advantage. She was raised in the Methodist church before she married a Baptist. So she had a little opening, but this is a difficult place when Jesus said, no one comes to the Father but by me. So was this the destination? Jesus said, follow me. What kind of life did Jesus live? What did he exemplify?
he was
Kindness.
very kind, very humble,
Love.
love,
Yeah.
compassion, forgiveness.
just kind of waiting, to let you think about all the descriptions you could put of Jesus.
Reaching out to the marginalized. How'd you like that, Molly?
Good, good. Glad you-
Way to go, Carol.
He was patient.
Yeah.
Not always patient.
He was patient with, yeah, that's true. But he was patient when I would have been frustrated with the followers, with his disciples. He was loving and yeah, he wasn't always patient, but there were times when I wouldn't have been patient when he was.
Okay. Was he just always a kind of like pushover, all anything goes kind of guy?
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay. You say no, Dottie. Why?
Well, he didn't let the Pharisees get by with things that they were trying to prove were right. He called them down
Why?
because they were wrong.
They were wrong. Okay. So there's another word I'm looking for. It starts with a T that happens to be in the verse too.
Ah,
Through. That has a T.
Well, he was a teacher.
Okay.
I'm not sure that's the word you're looking for.
That's not in the verse.
No, I know, but
And the way the
truth.
teacher,
Truth.
truth.
The
He
truth.
was a truth teller.
Mm.
So when the Pharisees were not telling the truth, he was a truth teller. He would hold them accountable. He wouldn't let people get away with not being true to themselves either. Like the woman caught in adultery, which is always such a, when you think about it, there was a woman caught in adultery.
And the man caught me.
Yes, but not, yeah.
But the man, but you know, that always, but anyways, but what did he say to her after all? They were going to stone her and everybody left after Jesus kind of whatever happened. And what was Jesus' word to her?
Did he ask her to change?
Well, what did he say?
he said, didn't he say go and sin no more?
Go and
Or-
sin no more. Yeah, that was the word. He's not saying, hey, everything's okay. He didn't say, hey, what you're doing is right. He just said, I'm not condemning you, but go and don't sin anymore. Truth teller. All right.
Hmm.
So if we're following in the steps of Jesus, how are we living?
If we're following the steps of Jesus, how are we living?
That's the right words that I said.
Yes. I was just repeating it for everybody.
I
Oh, we're doing the same things that he would have done, or we're behaving in the same way that he was behaving,
Okay.
right? We're showing love and compassion and kindness and
I guess we would walk the talk.
Walk the talk. Okay.
ooh, deep, Kathy.
Oh, do I get a point?
Oh, we haven't had points out for a long
There
time.
we go. Just gave you a point.
Okay. So what does that mean? Give me some examples of where it might be a difficult place to live. Doesn't have to be an example from your own life, but an example of how someone who was following Jesus in a difficult situation would show that they are walking in the way.
Say that again.
Helping the homeless or
Okay, helping the homeless. How would someone exemplify that they were walking in the way of Jesus in what might be a difficult situation? like someone helping the homeless. But tell me, take it from Jesus' perspective, Mary, and tell me how that would manifest itself. How would they help the homeless?
Personally or as a group, I know that Presbyterian church that I belong to, there was actually a women's shelter in the wintertime. And we, everybody signed up and brought food every night and took care of it. Personally, I've handed out food to people on the side of the road. But I don't know that personally just doing that for me is very much. But I think stepping up and helping.
We're taking it one step further, and I think in addition to taking care of their needs right now, going back and figuring out what in our system has allowed this to happen in the first place and how can that be changed. Jesus didn't just help you. I don't mean just. It's important, Mary, really important. Hand out food at the side of the road. If somebody's, it really is. It's just as important to go to the root of the problem and figure out why they're in that situation in the first place, and what in our system needs to be changed to help eliminate that. I mean, I'm thinking that's what Jesus was looking at too.
Right.
Changing from the bottom up, what happened in the first place that put them there.
So if Jesus met a homeless person, let's put it really very specific. What would Jesus have done? Person's on the street playing the guitar very poorly with a guitar case open with a couple of dollars fed in there. What would Jesus have done?
First, he'd forget completely about his own self and concentrate on the person that he's looking at.
Can you hear Dottie?
Say that again, Dottie.
You need to speak a little louder. Yeah.
First of all, he would forget about himself, or we should forget about ourselves and look at the person in need and see what they need.
Okay.
Oh, Martha and Mary, and say, hey, I've got a friend coming over to stay at your house. Get dinner ready.
Okay. Might have taken the person home. Okay. Could be. What else? What's the one that there's something that Jesus did to people that he met along the way that we often miss?
He loved them. He cared for them. He made them a person. And they felt that he knew who they were. He connected with them. He didn't just give them something. He became connected with them and cared.
That connection. That I was thinking of the word. He formed a relationship, even if it was short-lived. So often we're really good at doing things for them instead of, and I like what Dottie said, really stopping to think about how good I am for helping, but forming that relationship and saying, hi, I'm Jesus, who are you? And learning the name and saying, what do you need? And, would you like to come over to dinner tonight? Or forming that relationship building is what I think Jesus was best at than anything. And so think of some people that Jesus formed relationships with that wouldn't have fit into the day.
The lepers.
Okay, the lepers. He touched them.
Oh.
There were various people who were like mentally deranged or mentally ill, severely mentally ill.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking Zacchaeus.
Mhm.
I'm going to your house today.
Short people, maybe.
Short people. There you go, Dottie. There you go. Okay.
And I'm thinking of the woman that was bleeding for years and reached out to touch him, and how he made sure that he stopped, and he, anyone that no one else would touch because they were considered,
Unclean. yes.
unclean, that he was always there for them.
Okay. All right. So, we can think of all the little different adjectives that he was kind and compassionate, but really that forming relationships with everybody, with and being this not afraid to tell the truth, even to people that were down. He would still tell them the truth. Like Zacchaeus. You don't think Jesus just said, well, go ahead, Zacchaeus, just keep stealing and robbing for everybody else. That's just fine. No. I don't know what he said, but Zacchaeus said, I'm giving all this money back, and more than I gave, and more than I stole. And it's that becoming a friend. Yeah, Jesus and me, we're like this, And Jesus allowed that, allowed people to get close to him, allowed others to feel his love and his true compassion. Have you ever met somebody like that you just walk in the room and you just know that they care about you?
Mhm.
And they're like that to everybody, but you always feel special to them, but you know that everybody feels that way.
Mhm.
Anybody give me an example they can think of?
Kathy Sutherland came, we were doing, I think it was, we were singing for what was the last thing we tried to get all the churches to sing? Reformation Sunday, and some of the high school kids were invited to come and sing, and she came. Were you directing that?
Mhm.
You were directing that. And there was a couple of the guys in the back, and somebody came in late, and Kathy turned and gave this kid that she'd never seen before. There was she gave him a big hug and welcomed him, and everybody in the choir felt like we were a choir, united together, because Kathy just, she's just like that. Yeah,
Yes, she is.
yeah. I think the kid was really shocked that he got a hug from this choir director, but
He's probably saying, back off, woman.
but I think that everybody had that feeling of, we are her choir. We're making a difference. She's got it. She cares about this, and she cares about us. I think Kathy did that, at least in that one moment. I think she did.
Our choir director is like that too. We always tease, I'm Dan's favorite. And someone else will say, well, I'm Dan's favorite. Someone else will
Yeah.
say, we're all Dan's favorites.
That's right.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. But
Yeah. It's
that's the way
interesting you said that, because that's how we feel with Mom when we're always teasing her. Oh, I'm the favorite daughter, whatever. But I think yeah, I was waiting for that, Deb. I said that was a blessing of growing up with parents that made each of us feel that we were their favorites,
Yeah.
and just accepted us for who we are. Yeah, it was a real blessing.
Love it.
Yeah.
But everybody knows Mary is her favorite. Because Mary said so.
I really was, because I was their only child.
Thank you, Dottie.
I had a grandmother that always told me, she said, now I will never, ever pick one of you kids out, but I want you to know that you're one of my 4 favorite granddaughters.
She had 4.
And she had 4. Well, after she died, just a few years ago, I mean, she'd been dead quite a while. And I was talking to my other sisters. I said, now, did Grandma tell you this? He said, no, Grandma never told us that. So I was a favorite.
My mother would go the opposite direction. If we said, I'm just so proud of, Aaron's accomplishments or something. And my mother would say, I'm proud of all of my grandchildren. I mean, she just wouldn't ever, she made sure we knew she was proud of all of her grandchildren. Of me. Yeah.
Okay, so I did this funeral, or I'm not sure whether I was presiding at the funeral or whether I was in the congregation. I don't remember, but it was someone got up to talk about this person. And this was one of the times when we could still get together before the COVID, and the church was packed. And this guy was an old guy. And you don't always see funerals packed with somebody really old. I mean, and this guy got up and he said, I was his best friend. And he said, and I know most of you out there are thinking, no, you weren't, because I was. I just remember that, thinking this guy made everybody feel like his best friend. And I mean, and not just, I think, okay, so this really was the essence of who Jesus was. I wanted to take you through this exercise so we can go back to this verse now. Okay, so Jesus said, I am the way. I'm showing you how to live. I am showing you what to do. No one, I'm going to just do my own little translation here. I am the way. I am the truth teller. I am giving you life, showing you how to live. No one gets to the Father unless you live like this.
Yeah.
What do you think? That's wonderful.
Yes.
Deb is questioning. She's thinking. What's going on? I see your brain working.
Goes back to your question about who gets into heaven. I truly believe that people who live this way, I mean, then Jesus accepts them. I mean, even if they're Muslim or whatever, if that they live this way that Jesus taught us, I mean, that may be teaching them in a different manner, but the outcome is the same.
And it's not the acts that they do. It's not what they do. It's how they
live.
It's the heart. And you've said that before, Nancy, many times,
Okay, Carol, you're questioning. You got.
I am, because I have always been taught that people, there are really good people in the world who don't accept Jesus as Lord, and they do all the kind things that he did, and they love people, and use the gifts that they've been given, but how do you put that together with they need to confess Jesus as Lord? I mean, at some point everyone will. That the Bible says that, that every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord, whether they did it on earth or not. I don't know, Molly. That's a confusing thing for me. Stop doing that. Stop making me think. My head aches.
So here's the question. Is Gandhi in hell? Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi.
And Mother Teresa.
Well, Mother Teresa was a Christian. Christian and all that. But I'm talking Gandhi, who was a Hindu.
Yeah.
Who believed in various gods.
I don't want to think that he is.
I think the Bible's also very clear that you shall have no other idols before God.
God is a big God, and we don't understand everything. So I'm gonna stick with my Presbyterian church, and I'm gonna read my Bible, and I'm going to follow God, and I'm going to follow Jesus, and I'm going to trust God to do the right thing, because he can't do anything but the right thing. And I hope, that my daughter-in-law will be in heaven, but I don't understand an awful lot of stuff. And that's one of those things that are so big that I don't understand. So the more I stress over it, it won't do any good. I'm just going to trust God because it's bigger than I can understand. I know what I'm doing. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
I told you this was a tough one. Told you this was a tough one. This is, and I had someone explain to me once who was a wise person. And she said, I don't know. I just know I live my life in the best way that I can in relationship with Christ. And I don't have to speak for others. And God is bigger.
Mhm.
So the most difficult funeral service I ever did was for this man who was an agnostic. Very, very strongly. And the children, one of the children had become a Christian, very conservative Christian, had turned her life over to Christ. And there was so much tension in the family that we couldn't even be in the same room planning the service. Only some of the kids would be in the room at the same time. There was so much. And so how do you bring this together with one daughter who is so anti-Christian and the other one who is so Christian? I'll tell you, I agonized and prayed and over that service more than anyone I have ever done.
Ooh.
And the end of the service, I sang the song, I believe for every drop of rain that falls, a flower grows, which is very agnostic. And
I love that song.
it's a beautiful song. But I also said, I am a Christian and I live my Christian life, but I don't have to save anyone else because I believe in a God that's big enough. That God is the only one that does the saving. So I just have to live my faith according to what I have. And if that's the way, and I can pray for you, and if God needs to meet you, God will do it. But other than that, I just need to love you.
Right.
And I got a note from the agnostic daughter with a little extra check in it, thanking me for
Ooh.
dealing with this. And the Christian daughter was thanking me in the same way. And I thought, was it check? Not a she didn't check though. No, she was sending this to the homeless people. Anyway, but it was, I just, maybe God used that to open a door, or maybe God just thought they're doing okay, because the Christian daughter told me, he said, well, Dad told me just before he died, a little before he died, I don't know what I did so wrong with you that you would go and become a Christian.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he was a very kind man, and everybody said good things about him. And I thought, so is this man who's an agnostic? I mean, he wasn't judgmental or terrible towards her or anything. He just kind of wondered why she would turn her life into Christ. And I thought, wow, I surely don't have all the answers in this life. And that's how and I don't for a second believe that we are saved by our acts, by what we do.
No.
It's totally through the grace of God.
Yeah.
Totally. So if it's totally through the grace of God and not
Who
our,
are we to say, right?
it's like, so if it's totally by the grace of God, then Muslims can be in the grace of God just as much as a Christian, and Hindu, and
So then why have the Great Commission?
well, why
mean, why have it? Why did he command us to do that? I mean, it means nothing then.
Oh, wait.
Well, I guess I'm
Oh, no,
understanding, I'm taking what you're saying, but I'm struggling with it
I
because
see.
I'm really struggling with it.
Mhm. Okay, let's take the Great Commission. What does the Great Commission say?
To go out and, not talk about, the Hindu God or the, anybody else, where it's God.
Mhm. Dottie's looking it up for it to get the right exact words. 31, Matthew 28. Last there.
It's interesting,
Pastor,
Debbie, you said that, because I was just going to ask Pastor Molly the same thing when we say that we're supposed to go out and make disciples of men too. And so,
Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the end of the age. Does that mean that we should stop preaching the love of Christ?
Mm-mm.
No, it means that we should.
No, but what is a disciple then? That's a follower of Christ,
Okay, and what is a follower of Christ?
a disciple.
Someone who lives in the way, right? Someone who is seeking Christ, seeking to live in the way of Christ.
Of Christ,
There you go.
not of the Hindu God, not of Muhammad, Allah,
Mhm.
of God,
Right.
of Christ. Yeah.
Mhm. Right. And so we are commanded to go out and preach. So does that mean what I'm saying is I don't have the right to condemn someone who's a Muslim.
Absolutely not.
I don't have the right to condemn someone who's a Hindu. Does that mean I should not share my faith with them?
No.
No, I mean, absolutely we should. Yes.
We should share our faith, but it doesn't mean that we're condemning.
And if we're,
you
I
don't,
never said that. I never said I was. I believe there should be no judgment. I mean, who am I to say of anything? And by all means, as we've said in the past, our job is to love. It's to plain and simple, the big love, big L love.
Mhm.
And but within the context of that love, I believe it's and the way, I believe it's still always pointing people to Christ
Mhm.
in a very I don't know what word I want, in a very maybe specific way, or and I don't know what word I'm looking for, but and we know that the Bible does say that not everybody are going to accept Christ. I mean, we just know that. We have agnostics, we have atheists, and I just I don't know. I guess I just have food for thought tonight. I struggle with what some of our conversations been, but
I do too. I do struggle. I struggle with it because I was raised in a very conservative United Methodist Church, and about this is the way and that's not the way. And it is. But the point of this conversation is that we know the way is to follow in the step of Christ, because Jesus said, I am the way. But we also, on the other hand, can't say that it's my way of following the way is the right way. Maybe your way is a little different and God is leading you in a different direction. It's just, we don't have the answers.
Mhm.
And go ahead, Carol.
I was going to say, if we are living in the way of Christ, and we have a relationship with someone who doesn't believe, they might see Christ through us,
Hopefully.
you know, and so we're just to love them. I mean, Debbie, I know there's no judgment. I mean, we are to love people, and, you know, God will sort it all out later. It's kind of, you know, it's not for us to say whether someone is, I mean, we can lead people to Christ, but we don't do the conversion. God does that. God saves the souls. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's why I said that funeral I did for the agnostic was the most difficult one, because, you know, the way I was raised is saying this guy is going to hell, and I'm going, and how can I possibly give any comfort to the family, and what can I do? And it's the realizing that I need to live my faith completely and good and loving, and let God figure it out.
Right.
That's really where we are. But this verse has been used as a battering ram to batter others and saying, well, you don't believe like I do, so you are going to hell. And I have heard funerals where the person says, well, it's too late for your loved one, but it's not too late for you.
Ooh. Wow.
It happened. I had a cousin, one of my cousins married a woman who was pretty well, they were very strict about they weren't good Presbyterians. They left that church to go to, well, actually something would happen in their church, and then they find another little church that fit their, and then somebody would say something and they'd leave another church. And one of their kids, they had, how many kids? They have 6 or 7. One of their kids sort of rebelled, and she was homeschooling them at some point because they had tried a couple of different small Christian schools, and he was rebelling, and he drove off the side of the road and rolled his car and died. And at the funeral, they had an altar call, but after they had said that, you know, you don't want this to happen to you, go to hell after you, you know. So it was an awful, awful thing. It was an absolutely horrible thing. This young, I think he was still a teenager. He was been an older teenager, went off the road, and in the funeral, everybody there was told, you know, he's going to hell and you better repent. And they had an altar call because they didn't want this to happen to anybody else. It was awful. Absolutely horrible.
Wow. That's kind of a bad witness. I think. I do.
Well, and that circles back around to Molly, what you were saying. It's all about forming relationships.
Right.
And you're never going to move anybody unless you form that relationship.
Right.
And you know, telling them like that is that's going to just push them completely away.
Debbie, that's called relationship evangelism. Becky Pippert, she lives here in Louisville, and I don't know if you've ever heard of her or not, but she's an evangelist, and that's what she preaches is a friendship evangelism, you know, as opposed to stopping someone on the street and shouting at them, you know, where are you spending eternity? If you died today, where would you spend eternity tonight? You know, you're going to hell. And it's more important to form a relationship so that person will, you gain their trust. They see how you're living, you know, they see Jesus in us, and they may decide that they want whatever it is that we have. That comes from a relationship, I think.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
So the question I have is, all the people that live pre the time of Jesus, people in the Old Testament and older, where are they? They didn't have Jesus to follow. Where are those people?
Well, they kind of did. They just didn't know it, I think, because
if they are they in heaven?
you know, there are many cases where it says in the Bible, you know, he was a man after God's own heart, or he walked in the ways of the Lord. So, you know, I don't know, Dan, but I know God has sorted that out.
And God told Moses,
yeah,
I am the God Abraham. I am the God of Isaac. And as David pointed out in the Psalm, Jesus pointed out, he said, how could he have said, I am, if they had died and were not no place? They're still living. So that was God's conversation with Moses, that Abraham and Isaac were with God.
God knew their hearts.
Right. And there was sacrifices at the temple and then, we follow Jesus. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. I've lived it. I've shown you. Now do it.
So in other words, we've really complicated all of this, haven't we?
The more I learn, the more simple it becomes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, it's really much more simple than I even think. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been agonizing over this study because I knew this week would be the toughest one.
Yeah.
This is a tough one.
Yeah.
And right now I'd be on the blacklist of every Baptist church I've ever been in.
I think you might have already been on that list.
Oh, my aunt is a good Baptist. My grandmother, who I was the favorite of, was a Baptist. She was the pianist at the Randolph Baptist Church for her whole young years. That was,
Oh my God.
yeah, she was a good Baptist, but she never lived to see me be a pastor. My brother was a pastor. She never lived to see me. I don't know if she would have accepted me or not as a pastor.
Wow.
For women, but
Uh,
okay. Well,
Wow.
this is this was a deep one.
So deep.
Deep, and I hope that you will continue to struggle with this.
Yeah.
Because this is not, you just can't answer it. There are too many questions. So know that as you're struggling with this and rolling over this, and we all are.
Yeah. I mean, and I know that we will all stand before God one day. I mean, no matter who you are. So, just.
And that's when God will sort it all out, when every knee bows and every tongue confesses. Everyone will see that Jesus is Lord.
Mhm.
And if God has to sort that out. That's not for me to decide what happens.
Yeah, I gotta ask, Sue, you've been quiet this whole time. Just want your comment, because I know Sue's background, the rest of you don't as much, but I just wonder where your take is on this.
I just know that God wooed me to him. And it was all his doing. And so I trust that even in the last moment of a person's life, that he can reveal himself and woo that person to his heart.
He proved that on the cross. He proved it when he talked to the thief. I can't remember, on one side of him, who said, in that moment, he said, I believe. And Jesus said, you'll be with me in paradise. So, that wooing, that Methodist prevenient grace. There it is.
Oh, and Sue is such a Presbyterian. I love it. Yay.
I love it.
Yeah.
I like that statement though, Sue.
Yeah.
Wooing me to that. I've never heard it that way. I like that.
So we walk in the way. That's our challenge. And I'll tell you this little secret, and I probably should turn off the recording before I confess this, but I'm always afraid to put a bumper sticker on that says something about my Christianity, because I'm always afraid that somebody who doesn't know me is going to see me on the street and see me getting out of this car with this big fish bumper sticker, and I'm going to do something bad and it's going to turn them away from Christ. I'm like, that's my true confession. But
What do you do when you get out of your car? I'm just wondering. Is that why you moved so far away from Randolph? Huh? Had nothing to do with the grandchild.
What happens in Lackawanna stays in Lackawanna.
Gosh.
I'll just know that I don't park next to her.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
Well, I is wearing that pastor label that I do. I carry that, knowing that people are watching me, and we should.
Right.
We should walk in the
All
light.
of us should be. Yes, we
Yeah.
should all be aware. Doesn't matter whether you're a pastor or not.
Right.
Yeah.
We all should be.
There's a story about some woman driving in her car, and she's angry and honking her horn and weaving in and out of traffic and really angry. And she's got all these Christian bumper stickers. So the cop pulls her over, and he comes up and he says, "Ma'am, has your car been stolen?" And she says, "No, this is my car. Why?" And she says, "Well, because you weren't acting, you had a Christian bumper sticker. So I assumed your car was stolen since you were acting the way you were."
Is that
oh, sorry.
Jonathan's joke?
No, I
The
don't.
police station?
That's the
Okay.
reason why we need to be careful what we, put on social media,
Yes.
because that is our witness. And if we're not careful, even if we're passionate about, if we're not careful, it can damage our witness.
That's right.
Absolutely.
See, social media is about preaching without having relationships.
Mm,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. All right. Our time is gone, and I want to
Okay.
close with one more heaven story. Okay. So this man died, and he got to heaven, and this is not anti-men. It just happens to be the joke that I heard. And Peter said, "Well, I see. Oh my, when you were first married, you had an affair." And the man said, "Yeah." He said, "It was such an awful mistake, and I repented. I told my wife." And he said, "No." And we had a wonderful marriage after years, for 50 years. And Peter said, "Okay, well, I think I can put you in let's see, I think I can put you in a Chevy Equinox. It's a pretty good car." And he said, "Hey, that'd be great. Thanks." Well, the next guy comes in, and Peter said, "Well, let me see. I'm looking through your life, and I see, oh, you had an affair when you were first married. Then you had a second one about 10 years later." And the man said, "Yeah, I know." I said, "I didn't learn from my first mistake, and my wife kicked me out, and I lived on the street for a while after the second one, but I repented, and she eventually took me back, and we had a wonderful marriage then, and I behaved." And Peter said, "Okay, well, I think I can put you in a Ford, a small, what's that, Ford Fiesta? Yeah, you can drive that around." Well, he said, "Okay, okay, thanks, that's good." Well, this next man comes in, and St. Peter looks at him, and he says, "Oh my, you were stellar. You were just faithful to your wife in every way. You were a deacon in the church, and you lived your life." He said, "I am putting you in a Jag." The man says, "Oh, that's great." And he's tooling around heaven, driving in his Jag, and he sees people in various cars. And well, the guy that's in the Ford Fiesta sees the guy get out of his Jag, and he's sitting on the curb, and he is just sobbing. And the man said, "Well, I was, right before St. Peter, and I heard you had such a wonderful life, and you were so faithful, and you got this Jag to drive." And the man said, "Yeah, but I just saw my wife, and she was on a skateboard."
Oh, jeez.
You learned that in seminary, really.
I did.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's fine. One of the things that this pastor of the small church does like to say too, though, is that he said, "I think we're all going to be so surprised when we get to heaven, because we're going to look around and say, 'What are you doing here? I didn't expect to see you.' And they're going to look at us and say, 'Well, I didn't expect to see you.'" So I always thought that was kind of fun.
And that was C.S. Lewis actually said
Oh,
that.
was it really? Okay. Well, I'll parent stole it from him.
can continue to struggle with this.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. We all have to work through it. But the bottom line is live in that loving way. And when in question, what did Jesus do? That's just a really good thing. So I'm going to turn the recording off now, and we'll